Welcome to the Purple Rock Survivor Podcast, your favorite Survivor podcast other than Rob Sesternino's. I'm John, my co-host is Andy, and Andy, we've got the merge episode earlier than it's ever come. It's like Christmas coming early, only if everyone on the season is there for the Christmas episode.
This should be a Christmas episode. They should give out gifts. And we could only imagine what Tasha would give to Cass.
I can imagine it might be ticking.
Oh, yeah, so this is 13 people, one beach. Did this episode seem as crazy as such an event would suggest it to be?
I think, well, yes, it did seem crazy in that it seemed like it was so big that it felt like there was so much story to tell. Like, I just feel like I want to check in with, and to their credit, I think we got about as much checking in as we could possibly get considering how many people are left in the game. I think they did a fairly good job of condensing it down to a semi-coherent narrative for one episode, but there had to have just been so much stuff left on the cutting room floor, right?
Yeah, in Steven's blog today, he was talking about how, because there were so many people weren't really going that far off to strategize because there just wasn't room. So if you'd look one way, there's people strategizing and two people having a conversation. You look the other way, there's people, and you can tell they're counting off numbers on their fingers or drawing in the sand. And when I was reading that, I was thinking how amazing it would be if you could just get a wide shot of all that happening.
Yeah, where's the helicopter for that, right?
Well, they wouldn't show it because each of those conversations has a photographer, has a cameraman and a boom mic, and they don't like to break the illusion. Sure. But, if ever they were going to send out an Instagram of, behind the scenes, that would have been amazing. Just all these people strategizing in, a row. So I think, as the beginning of the episode, it felt very crazy. Just, so much talk and strategy going right away. But, by the end, I'm like, it wasn't that crazy. Ultimately a group of people got together and decided they didn't like Cass.
Yeah, but to be fair, that was a pretty big group to wrangle together. Although, what a cause to rally behind, right?
Yeah, and in the end, all these crazy possibilities and lines drawn on the sand and all of that.
Literal.
10 people voted the same way. 9 of whom wanted to, right? So, it's what the preview suggested. And honestly, at the beginning of the episode, once they started laying out targets, it looked like it should be Cass to the point where it's are they saying Cass too early that something different's going to happen here? In the end, it's I guess it was Cass. So some people are this is one of the best merge episodes ever. I kind of feel like we say that every season because the merge is such a great episode in every season. But
right, and it should be.
In terms of merge episodes, it was all right. It was interesting.
Yeah, generally, the merge should be an interesting episode because you're laying out the dynamics for the last part of the game.
And I kind of feel like that didn't happen last night.
Right.
I feel like with 13 people, there's all these possibilities, but what ended up happening were people I think they just treated it like a tribal boot. That's what getting rid of Cass is.
It's basically a punt.
Yeah, it's we'll worry about the strategy later. I wasn't planning on merging at 13 in the first place, so we got time.
Yeah, and there might still be one or two more of those votes to go before we get to any real strategizing.
Yeah. So, we said goodbye to Cass last night.
We did.
We are a podcast that would be bummed about such a thing. And honestly, as the season's gone on, I think more people have gone on that bandwagon, but...
Well, what's weird is how did that bandwagon grow? Because she wasn't giving me what I wanted from this season. The reason I was on the bandwagon was not on screen this season.
I think that's why, though, because then people were able to appreciate her more without just saying, oh, that crazy Cass. She can't play the game. She's always chaotic. And, I think as people started seeing her in a different light, I think maybe it helped even retroactively that, she's doomed her winning chances in Cagayan, but maybe she had her reasons. Or maybe she never had a winning shot to begin with.
Also that. Not the cast I signed up for. But you know what? We very briefly got it in this episode. And, I'm always the type that wants to see the star that burns bright and then flames out more than someone that just skates along and doesn't create any sort of entertainment. So Not that she was at her absolute best this episode, but it was at least a little closer to what I voted for him.
And you have been talking about that, like, that's not my cast. Whereas I've been kind of like, I'm okay seeing new casts because that means we're seeing Cass. And what I liked about Cass, and she lasted until the merge and shockingly until the jury, which we'll get into. Everybody thought she was going to be gone right away, and I love it when, like, the survivor hive mind is wrong about things. So I enjoyed that. And I also enjoyed that it showed that Cass wasn't stupid. Because if she did come out and was Chaos Cass right away, then she would have been gone in 3 episodes, and everybody would have been very smug about it, and it wouldn't have mattered. It was nice that we got a bit of it. I wish we would have gotten it a little later in the season. I wish she would have been able to stay calm Cass a little bit longer so that when she turned, it could have meant something.
Well, 2 things. One, it really annoys me that Cass did the Kobe thing and gave herself a nickname and just kept referencing it until it stuck.
Yeah, and honestly, I think there are people like that, like you, that are annoyed by that, and I get it. Because she totally is playing her edit, and sometimes the seams show. And sorry, continue.
Also, I would have been fine with her just skating along, as long as she was giving us killer stuff in confessionals. Like, judging by some of the bonus scenes we saw, she actually was spinning some gold out there. So we could have had the best of both worlds. I would have been fine with that if she just was like that for a little bit longer in the game.
I wish they had given more of the, Cass Joe stuff that was on the website, because, that's the thing. And that's why it wasn't bothering me completely that we weren't getting, the vindictive cast of interviews, because she's still funny. She's a funny lady.
Yeah. I kind of wonder if maybe she just got a little antsy. Like, she just had to make that move. She hadn't been at Tribal Council until last Tribal Council, and she's just like, okay, I got my first taste. I got to keep it going.
I think there might be an element of that. Like, we might do some defending of Cass, but I think we're also recognize her flaws, and one of those is she has an incredible ego. I mean, obviously this is true of most people on a reality show, but of that upper end, she is of the upper end, and she's always defining things in her scope and all of that. So I think, there probably would have been a bit of her chomping at the bit of wanting to do something and make a difference, get the edit. But I also think that, if you can step back a bit, I don't know if her moves were that bad, and I think this is tough. I think a lot what we saw last night and what we can criticize were features of an edit. But at the same time, I don't want to be the person that always, says, "Oh, we didn't get the real story," when it's somebody I like that went home, and then I'm not going to give
Who
like
would
Abby
do
the
such a
benefit of
thing?
the doubt. Well, I mean, everybody is the answer, but obviously I'm hinting at you. But I feel like she was probably in greater danger than we were led on from the very beginning. I think the episode made it look like she created the situation for herself. That if she hadn't gone out there and started throwing the stuff out about Tasha and all of that, then maybe she wouldn't have been in trouble, and I don't know if I buy that at all.
I think part of it is a chicken and egg thing. Like, did she start that stuff because she knew she was being targeted, or did she start that stuff and then that made her get targeted?
Yeah, so where I land, just because, that's what it feels like just watching. Obviously, there's exit interviews, but we always caution to take a grain of salt, and Cass would certainly be the kind of person who would spin something into her own narrative. But just from the way people reacted and stuff, I think that the target was on her, or at least her and Sierra, from probably right after the feast, and that was reactive to her and the way Cass knows. But that leads to another question, is that did she screw up her game last week? Was, her not sticking with Savage's plan and voting out Spencer, and then, was that what doomed her?
Here's a even more fun theory. Did Abby screw Cass's game last week the way Abby does? Because Abby was the one that called the shot on Wu instead of Savage.
I think you can certainly argue that Cass would have been in a better situation this week if Andrew wasn't there to mess it up for her. Because I think that's where I'm getting at. I think once he is reconnecting with Jeremy right away, he is telling them that, Cass is up to no good, it's Cass again. And we thought that would happen. We just still wasn't sure if that message would fall on the right ears.
Right.
Apparently it did. It gave Tasha all she needed because I don't know if you can get this, but I don't think she's over what happened 2 years ago.
What?
And whatever, that's her business.
Yep.
I'm not there. Maybe it was much worse than we ever saw. And I think they were able to turn enough of the group because, and this is what leads to the reputation part and why Cass did herself no favors in the way that she was trying to attack Tasha, is it just confirmed everything that she'd been fighting against for the first 18 days.
Yeah.
However, I don't know if it was a mistake still what her and Sierra did last week. I think basically if they had one more vote, it would have worked out perfectly. And I don't know if they were ever not the targets at this point anyway.
So here's the lone little counter that you can make to that. If they ended up getting Savage out instead, we at the very least have seen Wu in the past do the, us then move, like just suddenly he's a part of the big alliance. Oh, okay, yeah, you guys just blindsided my ally. I'm with you. So there's at least a historical precedent for that because he did it in Cagayan. So
yeah, and also in this scenario, where does Wu have to turn? I guess Tasha, but that's it. Whereas Savage obviously had a full group to turn to.
Yes.
So that's not a bad point. And then to your point, Abby, man. I mean, because Abby was never going to not vote out Wu, so they had to do that or just vote out Spencer.
Right.
And here's the thing: I don't know if voting out Spencer helps them at all.
Yeah, I don't either. I mean, specifically to Sierra and Cass, I don't know that voting out Spencer helps you any more than voting out Wu.
Yeah, because this is the thought experiment I've had since it happened. Let's say they do that. They vote out Spencer, Wu's in the game, they merge. Let's assume, for this hypothetical, that Joe still beats Wu as well as he beat everybody else in the challenge. So Joe's not available to be voted out. Who's the target now?
Yeah, I mean, what, are you going to take out Wigglesworth instead now?
Nobody seems to be interested in that. Nobody at all, and nor should they be, frankly.
Exactly.
So, is it Kelly Wentworth? I kind of feel like Keith and Joe liked her better. I think she has better social skills that she might have already integrated herself. She's a possibility, and of course now she has an idol, so that would be okay for her. Is it Wu? I don't think it's Wu, right?
Again, it's sort of like the Wigglesworth thing. Why?
Yeah, I mean, maybe in the same sense of well, he's not connected, he can win some challenges, sure, but I kind of don't think so. I think it still might be Cass and Sierra. I think that their key to success in this game was one more tribal council where they got to vote out Savage. And then maybe Joe and Keith and Kelly come to their side because there isn't, the numbers on the other side. I think that they were always drawing a short end here. Just kind of the way the episode played out and the way I look at it. I'm just not sure who the target is if Spencer went home.
Well, then the reason they must have had the merge just now was to protect Andrew Savage, because that's exactly what the show is trying to do, is protect Savage.
Yeah, because what happened for the season, if everybody remembers, is we voted for people to come in, and full credit to Rob Sesternino. This was a theory he thought of today or yesterday, I guess, in Know-It-Alls, and once he said it, it was like a light bulb, that they have data on who people like. This was, obviously they've always had assumptions, and some of it's probably pretty easy to assume, people like Joe, gold star for you, marketing person, but they literally know not only the 10 people to get on, but where they were, and thus who the audience wants to see. Do any of you, even the most paranoid fan, think that Andrew Savage was near the top of that list?
Yeah, even Matt, Savage's number one fan, would be like, no, realistically, that guy was in the bottom 5.
Yeah, his best case scenario was number 8, and I don't think he was number 8.
No.
I think the most likely chance for Andrew Savage was that he was number 11.
He was in that 9, 10, 11 range.
Yeah. So Survivor knows that they don't need to throw a season to help Andrew Savage. That's not what the fans want. They don't need to feature him in the edit because that's what the fans want. So I don't think they structured everything to save Andrew Savage. Him going out at this point in time does nothing one way or another for their fan base.
Yeah, and there's actually historical precedent for Savage going out at this point in time, actually leading to an all-time great season.
Yeah, so. They didn't do this to protect Andrew Savage. Even just last week, I believe, was it True Dork Times? I can't remember. But basically said that, like, they saw creative that basically, like, before, as the season started, that suggested that this was when the merge was always going to be.
What it was is there was a photo, I think, of the challenge board, and the team challenges always ended right at 13. So they knew that the merge was always coming here.
To be clear, we are people that feel like they, sometimes play around a bit with the merge here and there. I don't think that was the case here, and it certainly wasn't to protect Savage.
No, it was to protect Spencer, of course. Silly me, I just had the wrong person.
Yeah, I will say, they probably have data that suggests that their fans really want as much Spencer as they can get.
Yep.
And Rob's point was that might be why Spencer is featured heavily in the edit, not necessarily because he's the winner. One last thing on Cass is, I don't want to absolve her of everything. I think the biggest mismove when I was watching is, I believe it was during the merge feast, she was immediately blabbing to everybody what went down in the last vote. We voted out Wu, but not Savage and Kelly. And it's like, whoa, maybe you shouldn't put everybody's business out on Front Street like that because your allies think, whoa, that's Cass, that's why I can't be allies with her.
Yeah, and she really was putting it all on the streets there. But I think we got at least a little bit of Kimmy asking her the questions, so I wonder if that's actually how it started, was Kimmy was asking all the questions. But even then...
Oh, I believe Kimmy might have asked it.
She's not absolved of blame because you can skate around that answer. You can answer diplomatically.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, aside say, oh no, they were totally with her. And Savage has no plans for you, Kimmy. He wanted to get back with everybody else. That's what he was promising us. But yeah, I was just out in front of everybody. And something like that, I'm sure makes a player like Keith or Joe nervous. Like, I don't know if I want to be allied with somebody like this. And it's so Cass, because that was her thing through Cagayan. Yeah. People get on her when she always says, I never told a lie in Cagayan. It's just like, oh, Cass. But it's true. She didn't lie. If somebody asked her what she was doing, she'd tell you, including, I'm going to vote for you. Yeah, it's just she still surprised people, probably because they never bothered to ask her how she was voting or anything like that. All right, so that's Cass, and that's what happened to her. We should assess what happened with Sierra as well.
Yeah, really, I think just they were tethered together in that sinking ship. I think the vote went to Cass because they would have preferred Cass to go, but I think they would have been just as fine if Cass did pull out an immunity idol. Then Sierra would have gone. They'd have been like, oh, okay, well, whatever, fine, Sierra then.
Yeah, and the question is, did she put herself in that spot by her aggressive play when she tried to throw Savage under the bus in front of everybody?
Again, I mean, if it had worked and they got specifically Savage instead of Wu, maybe it all works out okay. But, allowing Abby Maria to call her shot, which you probably have to do to get her vote anyway, you have to take what comes with that.
Yeah, Abby is the destroyer of everyone's dreams. It's funny, earlier in the week, actually right before last week's episode, or I guess yesterday's episode, I started theorizing that maybe it could be Sierra just through outside clues or whatever. And Matt, our friend, was saying, the thing that he doesn't like about Sierra is that she's always reactive. She's not proactive. And if that edit is to believe, that was Sierra being proactive. That was her openly attacking Savage, and it didn't really work out so well for her today.
Get back under the radar, quick!
Yeah, I obviously defended Sierra because that's what I've done since she popped on the scene, but you did as well. It's like, when you're the 90-pound, 23-year-old woman, I don't know if the game dynamics of Survivor allows you to take charge.
Right. Yeah, there's no such thing as Alpha Sierra.
Yeah, and, the one person in the history of Survivor, and this was your point, who has won twice, did the reactive thing. That's Sandra. Sandra was never out there. This is what we're going to do, and these are the moves. Now, I mean, obviously, Sierra's mistakes in Blood versus Water was that she reacted slow. But, yeah, I've always maintained, she was slower than the 3-time All-Star she was facing.
Right.
And I think that's what we saw. When she was really aggressively trying to throw Savage under the bus, that didn't work because people aren't looking to her for that sort of thing. However, I did kind of like her performance at Tribal Council.
Which part specifically did you enjoy?
Just her outline, because indications has shown that she knew that Cass was going home. Those indications being that she has gone on Twitter and said she knew she was going. Cass was going home, and Kelly Wentworth has said the same, that she told Sierra so much. That she was putting it out there that, you guys should be thinking about who's going to help you win, not who's going to help other people win. Don't play for sixth. I think those were messages to people that she could possibly work with next week, knowing that she has the time to work next week.
And I think she was also setting herself up to potentially work with them because she threw her vote at Savage.
Yes. So let's tell people why she did that, because there was a lot of confusion as it happened.
Here's why. 2 words. The first word starts with F, and the second word is you.
I think that's a big part of it. Now, what she has tweeted out, I think, there's also this a bit, but I think the main reason was it probably felt good.
Yes.
She knew Cass was going to go home, so A, there was no point in trying to save her by voting for somebody else, and B, there was really no point in joining the group to vote with Cass, in the way she did when she voted out her mom that one time. So she didn't need to vote Cass to make sure that the tie wasn't going her way. So then she could have voted Tasha, like Abby Maria did, like Cass did, but she says she didn't want to alienate Tasha because she's going to try to work with Tasha next. She's never going to be able to work with Savage. That door is closed. So if you're going to throw it on to anybody, him. But yeah. I also think that it was a F.U. Andrew Savage.
Yes, exactly. Because, really, she could have just not rocked the boat and thrown the vote at Cass just to be safe. But this was a nice little... It was a nice little homage to Cass and flicking Savage the metaphorical bird.
Yeah, and as he's going out to vote, she gave an epic eye roll. She's no fan of Andrew Savage, so she should become the internet's new sweetheart. One thing that I just thought of that I don't think played into it at all, but it'd be, very clever, is, of course, the one thing that many of these survivors seem to remember about Sierra is that she did vote out her mom that one time.
Oh, really? Did she?
Yeah, I don't know if you ever heard that. She's very dangerous. She'll even vote out her mom. Maybe this was showing that, no, I've changed. I have loyalty. I'm not going to throw a meaningless vote at my one ally just to curry favor. But no, I don't think that. I think it was F.U. Andrew Savage.
Yes. Always go for the easiest explanation, and that's it.
All right. So last thing about this Cass vote that kind of struck me is, as we discussed at the beginning of the episode, this was it felt like a punt decision. This wasn't a, fork in the road, winner stays, losers start to go home moment. I think for somebody, and they don't know it yet, that was a mistake. That might have cost their game. By punting the decision 3 days down the road, or however many days the road, they might have lost their one opportunity to turn the game. Do you agree that that's possible?
I guess it's possible. I just don't know that I don't know that I see any apparent signs that someone has done that, other than I can almost guarantee you that if Tasha makes Final Tribal, she's not getting Cass's vote. That's the one guarantee I can make.
Yeah, and to be fair to Tasha, there's no reason she should have expected that Cass would have a vote.
Right.
And she looked pretty bummed about it when she found out. I think... Because basically right now, everybody is in this, top 9 alliance? Like, that's as Sierra was pointing out, that's a tough spot. And, because I don't know if, there's 13 tribe members, or jury members, so I suppose it's possible we're going for a big final tribal, but it's probably not going to be 9 people. And I don't know if there's enough subdivisions for some people. Basically, I'm wondering if Steven lost his opportunity to flip to a more advantageous side. Couldn't Steven have worked better with people like Cass and Sierra than he can as, Savage and Jeremy's boy?
Absolutely. But the problem is, does Steven want to risk himself right now to try to save Cass? It's just a matter of timing. And he doesn't have the capital to expend. We've seen the capital that Steven is working with here, and it's probably in the negatives at this point.
Yeah, but, he could maybe bring people. And maybe he couldn't have, right? We obviously don't get every strategy session. We discussed that too. But it wouldn't have just been him flipping, right? If there was enough numbers, I feel like Spencer actually wanted to work with that group.
Oh, I believe that.
And we'll get to that. And, so now you have Spencer and Steven. I think that brings Joe and Keith, and it keeps Kelly. Like, I think it was the tide turned one way and people were like, cool, that's where the numbers are. Because I don't know if Steven, is he beating Jeremy? Is that his plan here? Is he, what's Steven's path to victory?
I think the flaw in your logic there was that Joe and Keith go to that side. I think Joe probably surveyed the landscape and said, okay, where am I likely to be safer? Am I going to be safer on the side with Savage and Jeremy and Tasha, where I'm an immunity beast amongst immunity beasts? Or am I safer on the other side where it's basically me versus Spencer, and that's it?
Yeah, I mean, that could be in his thinking. I think the answer is you're equally unsafe no matter where you go, Joe.
Yeah, because you're Joe. You're not safe.
So at Zip's point, why does he even bother voting? Although maybe he should, I guess to flip it around this time, he should be voting out challenge beasts because everyone that's in the game is one that could beat him for an immunity.
Right. And I totally agree. That should be his strategy now.
Yeah, well, and he just lost somebody who probably wasn't going to beat him for in a challenge to keep Tasha, who might. Anyway, but yeah, I just, for the longest time, when Steven was being the pitiable nerd that Andrew Savage was bullying and, burying in the sand and all of that, everybody had it in his head that once Steven hooks up with, the like-minded players, your Kelly Wentworths, your Spencers, your Sierras, or Cass, that's how he's going to flip it around, and he's going to take on Andrew Savage. And, we got nothing even indicating that was even a possibility. Everybody was just like, oh yeah, Steven's with the guys. Steven's in the bro downs. It's Steven, Jeremy, and Savage, write them off. Maybe we have a shot at some other people. Is that a good spot for him? Or is that it's certainly secure. He has trust with Jeremy, but that doesn't win him the game.
Well, we know it doesn't win him the game because
he is lost in this exact scenario. He's so worried about Joe being his JT that he hasn't realized that Jeremy is.
Yeah, well, Jeremy has willingly volunteered to be his JT. He's like, I'll win the $1 million from you. That's great. I'm fine with that alliance.
So, I don't know. I feel like when it's all said and done, this could be a source of regret for Steven, that he had a chance to work with lesser challenge beasts, more strategic thinkers, and he threw his lot in with Andrew Savage.
But, okay, just to play devil's advocate here.
Yeah.
Why not be the strategic thinker amongst the brawny challenge beasts? If you are the brains of the brawn operation, maybe that's an advantageous position for you.
And if he had shown any level of being able to convince these people of his strategy being the way to go, I think that would agree. But we got the scene last week of them nah, Steven, we're good. When he tried to convince him of stuff. What's his role in that group? I don't know it. So here's a question. Forget whether this was a mistake. There's plenty of people, plenty of time, it's true. Maybe I'm over-dramatizing it. But can he win? Edit-wise, I think he is a player. He is one of the top characters of the season. I don't think the edit has written him off. But looking at his spot in the game, what is Steven's path to victory?
Well, first of all, I should just clarify, I don't actually support the idea I just put forth. He probably should not have stayed where he stayed. But, at least long term, he shouldn't stay with that group. It's not out of the woods, or it's not out of the realm of possibility for him to still switch to a different alliance at some point in the near future. But just looking around, man, it does seem like he's in a pretty terrible position. He has trouble pulling in allies. Pulling people to his side. And as someone who writes a blog about Survivor failures every week, this Steven edit has been a godsend, but at the same time, it's a little painful to watch. He keeps throwing things out there and we're seeing them getting shot down.
Yeah, and it was part of the tough draw, being Bion in the beginning. And I think what's tough for a player like Steven is his mantra is always tribe loyalty. You need to demonstrate loyalty. Survivor is a game of allies. And I'm not going to discredit that. He's played Survivor. I have not. And it's certainly a path, and an easier way of moving forward. But I just don't think these are the allies, you know? Like, his closest bonds are, to this point, Kimmy and Jeremy. I think there's no question of that. I think Kimmy is a great choice for him. Jeremy is a good choice from a Shield perspective, but is he Jeremy's closest bond? Is he what Jeremy wants in this game? And moreover, I don't believe for a second that he could beat Jeremy, especially not with this group on the jury.
Agreed. And also, as to your question of if he's Jeremy's closest bond, answer this question. How many high five shots have we seen of Steven and Jeremy?
No, probably the problem is, like, Jeremy's put it out there and Steven's just fucking missed.
Whiff.
Who would Steven's ideal, like, final tribal partners be? I guess, you know, same as everybody, Wigglesworth and somebody else, but...
Well, here's what I wonder. Does Steven really need a shield? I mean, when you're that inept at challenges, isn't your shield just a replacement level player?
Yeah, anybody.
Yes, exactly. Anybody is better at challenges than you, so anybody is your shield.
So, I don't know. Well, time will tell whether, and maybe time will never tell whether voting up Cass was a mistake for Steven. But I feel like, you know, of the people that needed to make moves to change their situation this week, and who, having a player like Cass, who, despite her magical transformation, was still probably a very small threat to win this game, he cast her inside instead to throw his lot in with Tasha. I don't think Tasha's on Team Steven, and I don't know if Steven can beat her.
Yeah, and it does get me concerned. We're going to get to predictions at the end of the episode, but it does get me concerned about Steven's near-term future.
So the other person that didn't flip is Spencer. Should he have? Why didn't he?
Because Spencer is aware of how numbers work, and there's really no reason to flip when you're flipping to a minority that can pull off one vote. I mean, at that point, yay, you got your one victory, but what a Pyrrhic victory it is, because then you're just going to get decimated by the group that's going to rally around the fact that they just lost a member and take all of you out. So, B, Savage and Jeremy seem exactly like the type that would pagong the enemy tribe that turned on them. So, I think Spencer's fine. He's on the periphery of a very, very large alliance that has to crack at some point. And I think he's got enough connections that as that alliance splinters, he's going to land somewhere.
Yeah, and here's the other thing, and somebody spelled this out on the site very well for us, and I can't quite remember. Was it Sharkules? If it was, full credit. If not, I apologize to the person I'm not giving proper credit to. Even if he had flipped his vote, it wouldn't have mattered. Spencer was voting for Sierra last night. A non-vote for Sierra doesn't change the fact that Cass had 5. So, like, he didn't even have the power to flip it, even if it, would have been a good move. And as you pointed out, it would have been a bad move.
Right. And, for all we know, it could have been an intentional thing that they gave him Sierra to vote for just to hedge against that possibility.
Yeah, it basically one of two ways. Either then it's like, we're not assigning you the power, like the way they, assigned Tyson the power to destroy them, in Heroes vs. Villains. But it also could have been like, I feel like I owe Cass one, could I not vote for her type deal. But either way, he couldn't have swung the game, and nor he shouldn't have. That said, he's in no better a position than he was going in. And luckily for him, he's in no worse. I still feel like he might be in a better position than Fishbach because he can win if he gets there. For one, he can win challenges. That's a big advantage. But I think he could win in a jury against any of these people.
Just about. I mean, it'd be.
It wouldn't be like he wouldn't necessarily win, but I'm not writing him out against Jeremy the way.
Right. Yeah. There's nobody that is a definite win against Spencer. There's at least a possibility of Spencer beating everybody that's left.
Yeah, and he'd have the underdog thing. People that are going to be on the jury soon, including the one that was just on there, would feel okay voting for him. So, yeah, there is a path for for Spencer, even if getting to the end is a more difficult path than, say, Fishbox might be. But getting to the end is only step one. All right, this is a fun one. Why is the internet so wrong about Andrew Savage's edit?
First, let me give a quick aside to the internet. Internet, I love you very much. And I know that just like you, or I want you to know that just like you, I love Stephen Fishback. I should probably pronounce his name right. But would you all rather that Stephen be getting the edit that he's currently getting or the edit that Savage is getting? Because they are worlds apart.
That was last season, John. I want to get clear. I feel like a lot of people on the internet, including the lovely people who visit our site, are wrong about his edit. I'm not saying you're wrong about him. If you don't like Andrew Savage, that's cool. I can totally see why. A lot of the things that people are complaining about him, and were before this season even started, I think are legitimate. It's there. He is very entitled and arrogant. It just doesn't bother me on the same level. You guys are totally off base about the sexist stuff, though. I'll just put that out there.
Paternalistic is fine.
Paternalistic is accurate. But,
Yeah.
And if you, yeah, but not everything's black and white. You can be paternalistic and not sexist. It's a continuum. There are levels to this. But people think that he is getting a villain edit, and he is not. You may not like him, and that's cool, but the show isn't trying to make you not like him. It's like people who watch The Walking Dead and they're like, I can't stand Rick Grimes. That's fine. He might not be interesting to you. You might not like him, but the show isn't writing him as the villain. He's the hero. He's the protagonist. And that's what's happening with Andrew Savage. Maybe not necessarily that he is the hero, but they are not trying to make him look bad.
I mean, they've thrown in a few things to subtly make him look bad, but if they want to make you look bad, they will be very overt about it, as they have with some other people this season.
What are the things to make him look bad?
It's been subtle stuff, like the hypocrisy of him saying, like, oh, this was all about trust, and these people, Sierra and Cass, just turned on us. How dare they? Meanwhile, previously on Survivor, we saw him saying to Spencer, hey, we're going to go and we're going to get out Sierra, and it's you and me, buddy. I like you. You're great. Like, okay, he was trying to set up a blindside, and he got blindsided. Like, let's not throw stones here.
Oh, I don't disagree, but like, I think people are pointing, it's like, oh, he said mean things about Cass and Sierra, and it's like, I don't know if you watch the same show as we that saying mean things about Chaos Cass makes you a villain. Like, visit the Facebook page for Survivor, or you know what, never do. I never have, never will.
Yeah, please don't.
They hate Chaos Cass. Like, that's not who people cheer for in this game. People are like, oh, he's being set up like Rupert. You mean the most beloved Survivor of all time, Rupert? Like, I don't know what's happened this season that made internet fans forget that we are not the target audience, and this show isn't edited for our favor.
Right.
We usually know that. We usually complain about it like, oh, there's Probst trying to make this person a hero again. But somehow, some reason, people have forgotten that in relation to Andrew Savage.
We are but a slice of the 10 million strong Survivor audience.
And again, don't like him. That's cool. Don't think he's going to win. That's cool. I don't even think he's that good at Survivor. I'll say that. But he is not getting the edit that many people think he's getting. And I think what's happening is people are hoping that's what's happening. But it's like, if he goes out next week, it isn't because they've been setting it up as like, aha, that fool who is mean to Steven. This is not that kind of show is what I'm getting at. They like what Savage represents. They know they have an audience that likes what Andrew Savage represents, even if we don't.
Here's the thing. If they were trying to set it up as Savage is this terrible bully who, he was picking on lovable nerd Steven, do we get that awkward poetry scene with Steven?
What was that about?
That was showing us once again, as they have done so many times this season, that Steven just does not belong. He is the one of these things that's not like the others.
Yeah, and like obviously they couldn't do it because of the chronology, but like pair that and like everybody's reaction to like the tears of Andrew Savage's heroic story about when he had to work for Playboy and meet a model wife and be away from her for a month. That's what the show is telling us, people, and you may hate that Savage. Oh, how dare he talk about his great life. You may love quirky Steven with his poetry, but the show isn't you. And the reaction, I actually really liked the Steven scene because I felt like it was the Survivor editors just stunting on us. Like, because it was amazing. They were getting all these close-up shots of people like darting their eyes, wondering. A few people like, oh, whatever, we'll get a load of this. boredom. And it was just like all this, like these people are all trapped in one spot and all they want to do is get out there and strategize. And this moron is going on about poetry. Yeah. And I put out a poll, to troll people because that's what we do now. Like which was worse, Savage's poetry or Steven? Here's the thing. They're the same thing, people. They're people doing things out of boredom, that are kind of lame. But you like Steven, so it's fine, and you hate Savage. But if Savage was sitting up in that shelter reciting poetry...
The eye rolls, you could hear them from here. We do enjoy poking back at the internet for their Savage hate.
Even though I get it. I totally get it. I think it's even gone past the he was mean to Steven, although that's still such a big element of it.
Well, public sentiment is not just against Andrew Savage. I think there's a slight turn in sentiment towards Tasha, because I think in Cagayan, and I don't remember having very strong feelings about Tasha in Cagayan, but she was part of that underdog duo with Spencer, and they're fighting against Tony, so you're supposed to be rooting for them. So I imagine, at least, that her edit was fairly pleasant.
Oh, she was really popular. I mean, she just got voted onto a season.
Well, yeah, but so did Monica. Anyway, but so they let the bloom fall off the rose with this edit. Like, we're seeing some of the Tasha that they might have been there in Cagayan and we just didn't get to see.
Yeah, a couple things. One, I was on I don't really like Tasha bandwagon a long time ago, folks, so get in the back. I was there during Lose On, when she was all angry and talking about voting out Spencer instead of the rice dumper Jatia. Even she blew up at friggin' Garrett, who was an idiot. I was like, have some chill, woman. So I've never been quite on the Tasha bandwagon, so ha! But yeah, I think some people are like, is she getting the Stephanie edit? And I think, again, I would caution, no, her edit is actually pretty good. She wasn't shown blowing up at Cass or saying, lots of mean things about Cass the way, Cass suggests she was. She is, none of the things that Jeff Varner has accused her of has made the edit. I think edit-wise, she's looking good. What we're picking up on is perception, and I think it's the exact same thing as Stephanie in that terms. People like people when they're losing, and when the same people start winning, they're like, where's the humility now?
Right. And I don't really care, because I don't have very strong feelings towards Tasha either. She's fine, I guess. She just doesn't move the needle much for me.
Yeah, I mean, I think she's fine at Survivor. I don't know if she's the social player that people perceive her to be. I think that's something that in both edits has probably been overplayed. Because A, the first time around they needed the underdog, and B, she's being successful enough at this point. Which I guess would argue she's better at the social game than I was just saying. But yeah, like you see this, people just want to root for underdogs, and when they stop being underdogs, they don't like them as much. And it's kind of almost the danger of returnees, right? Like, Rupert is all fun and stuff in Pearl Islands, and even to a degree All-Stars, but then he gets on the Heroes tribe and he's a dick. The best case, is Ozzy, in that people forget that even early in his very first season, he was an entitled douchebag who threw a challenge to get rid of the fat kid. But as soon as he is on that underdog I-24, as soon as Penner and Candace jump off the mat, oh, what a lovable underdog Aussie, we love him. And then, he comes around from Micronesia and he's a douche again. Wake up, sheeple, don't just follow the edit of the underdog. I don't know.
I think part of it, too, is that Tasha was very good at challenges in Cagayan. She and Spencer were both great, and it seemed like they were actively saving themselves with their skill at the challenges. People do like that. I mean, it's not our thing necessarily, but a lot of people like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's absolutely it. But I don't feel like her edit is particularly different. I just think people are starting, now that she's no longer the underdog, people are starting to pick up on some of the things that were always there.
Hey, you know who might kind of be an underdog now and is also sort of good at challenges? Joe! And Joe is an underdog only in the sense that he has very little chance of winning. He is not a challenge underdog. If anything, he's a challenge overdog. We've seen some people alleging that Joe should have thrown this challenge because he doesn't want people to start targeting him and viewing him as a threat. What do you think about that one?
I think the horse is out of the barn, people. I love the idea that if he loses one challenge, people will forget that he is a golden god that has been dominating since he set foot on Survivor.
Yeah, Joe has not yet lost a single challenge this season. With the fact that he, dropped a ball while standing on a balance beam have made people think, oh, yeah, well, he's not as much as he's cracked up to be.
What were we so worried about?
Yeah, oh, silly us.
Joe can't hide. It's impossible. Everybody knows these are not stupid people. Joe, just keep winning and, keep momentum. I mean, he might not have gone home tonight. I will say that. That's true. But winning and losing didn't change his chances or dynamics one iota.
Yeah, and of course he should go for the win. And oddly enough, you said that it probably didn't change this vote. He should have been fine either way. I think probably next week it's the same. I think he's probably fine either way.
Yeah, I'm less sure about next week. I can see them being like, okay, well, let's get Sierra. And then Joe's available. Like, you know what? We can get Sierra another time.
I'm just saying it's at least a possibility that he's fine even without immunity next week. Still, this is not me encouraging him to slacken a challenge because what's the point?
Okay. Yeah, here's the thing. If Cass and Sierra were a little screwed by an early merge, I think Joe is the one that will pay the most for an early merge because that's 2 more immunities he has to win.
Yeah, he could have just coasted on team immunities until then.
Yeah, and now it's instead of winning 8 in a row, he has to win 11 or something. I don't know. Wow.
Yeah, and it gets a lot harder too when it could just be those random challenges of, hold your arm over your head or, hold the balls on a plate and suddenly a strong breeze goes by. It doesn't really matter how good you are at challenges. Some portion of luck is going to play into that.
Yeah, the one he lost actually I think was breeze induced last time. So yeah, no, give your head a shake. Joe's not fooling anybody if the ball rolls off his plate. Might as well just win them all. It's what people think of you. If anything, and maybe it's cool, Joe's my meat shield. How good a meat shield are you if you're not shieldy? But ultimately, no, everybody knows the score with Joe.
So we got our first jury member this week, and kind of a surprise because I assumed, early merge, fine, but that means we're probably going to get 2 merge boots that won't be on the jury. No. As soon as Cass's torch is getting snuffed, he's like, welcome to the jury. And now that means we get 10 people on a jury. What do you think that means for this game?
I think the biggest thing we can say is no second chance for the parade of losers because final tribal council will take 2 hours.
Well, you say that. I think the main thing that I'm hoping for with 10 jurors is that we get at least 2 interesting jury questions.
That is, I suppose, the over-under. I don't know if we can get to that, because it'll still all be I don't care about this, we already know we're voting. But that's actually the bigger thing, is maybe with 10 people, it's much harder to come to an overwhelming consensus, and thus we might have more potential throughout the game. Because, most seasons get to a point, it's that person will never get 4 jury votes, or something like that. But now it's maybe it's 4-4-2, does it? Or, maybe we might not have such an easy consensus built.
It would be great if this is finally the first tie final vote. I don't think it's going to happen.
Oh, I didn't even occur to me when I said 4-4-2. But 5-2-1 or...
5-2-1 does not quite work with 10.
The maths is tough, man. The maths is tough. 5-3-2? Thank you. Okay. But yeah, more people might have a shot because less factions. Maybe people will be able to flip and not burn an entire jury down to the ground because the jury is so big.
Yeah, I think the nice thing is the answer is that we don't really know.
Yes, I guess there you go. Many things this season, we don't know what a merge of 13 people will do. We don't know what 2 tribe swaps will do. And we don't know what a 10 tribe. But it would be great if it does open up a little bit more potential because of late, the jury phase has been kind of meaningless.
Well, I do think that this early merge and early jury thing kills one aspect of the game, which is getting rid of the people that you don't want on the jury before they start the jury phase. So that's one potential downside, but I hadn't seen any votes that seemed to be motivated by that yet.
Because why would they have thought it?
Right.
It's possible that this was one. Maybe that's why Cass is like, or Tasha was like, I gotta get rid of her now because I'll never get her vote.
Could very well be.
And now Cass gets to be there poisoning everybody who arrives against Tasha. Okay, so we don't know what will happen once we get to a 10-person jury. Another thing we don't know is what's going to happen next week because we never seem to know. Interestingly, you and I kind of have the same prediction for next week, but I will let you explain how we got there.
Well, it's disappointing that we do because I hate when we agree, but we're going to place our belief in the people who provide the previews for next week. And they give us a little bit of Steven, and it looks like he's starting to get antsy. Steven wants to make a move. He's not cool with just coasting with this massive alliance anymore. He wants to play Survivor. And I think that's probably going to happen. And I think Savage is going to see that, and he's going to be like, the wiki was right, let's get him! And I think Steven's going home.
Yeah, you just open this discussion with what Steven needs to do is find, 6 people, I believe. And you're like, and he could even engineer it so the other 6 split the vote 3-3. Because, they just did, between Sierra and Abby. And the problem we could never get to is, where's the 6? Which was kind of my point about Cass. Cass could have helped him make 6. I don't know if he's got another 5. And to get back to the edit discussion we were having, we've spent a lot of the season denying that Steven was getting an edit that, are they making him look bad? But when you look at it as a whole, and you remove, your enjoyment of Stephen Fishbach, that's both of us, he's been a whole lot of fail for Steven, hasn't it? Like, what makes you suggest other than, one day he's gonna win, and makes you think that he's not being set up to lose?
So the one thing I think that you can still be hopeful about, well, I guess 2 things. A, this is one of the most confusing edits I've ever seen for a Survivor player.
Indeed.
It's super negative in the sense that, wow, they are painting him as just woefully inept. But I can't recall a time, and really probably because there wasn't much need to, but done a flashback in the opening of the show. And they flashed back to Steven being second place last time, which maybe that's just a sign that they're saying, hey, this time Steven gets to the end and he doesn't lose to the JT character.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. Like I said even earlier, there's enough edit there to build a winner for Steven if he starts to get some wins under his belt. But it's just been loss after loss after loss, and I feel like he's going to lose to Andrew Savage, people. And you're going to hate us if it happens. We didn't do it. We didn't know it was going to happen. But you're right about his edit, and that is confusing because, when he's barely chopping branches, when he's falling in challenges and everything, he looks so hapless. But when they let him talk, he still comes off as intelligent and, a good grasp of the game. And usually it's not both. It's not those things. But, I feel like Steven's going home next week. And not because we're just trying to troll you all.
No, we legitimately.
In this case, we might do some other things this week that we're legitimately just poking the bear.
Shh. Spoiler.
Predicting that Stephen Fishbach going home is not it, because that's not what we want. And here's the other thing, if you think we're totally wrong, maybe it's just Sierra. I mean, that's easy. But this can't be a season of easy votes back to back to back, can it?
No, and there's probably going to be a predictable vote or 2 along the way, but I don't think this is it.
But, I mean, and also to, support our thesis a little longer, we did get a thing just last episode, not the one that just aired the week before. Steven's itching. I gotta make my move. This is about big moves. It's gotta be some strategy. And then it seemed like the preview was going there before. So it does feel like Steven's going to try to make a move. Maybe with 6 days there, he's starting to feel like, oh crap, I've been edged out again.
Which is funny because if he could just listen to podcaster Steven, he would try not to make any moves until it's completely necessary, and he might be okay.
But the problem is he's haunted by the idea that he did make a move last time, and that's in the edit. That's part of the story.
Exactly.
And I just don't see it edited to a way of Steven's great victory.
And here's a crazy thought. Maybe it's easier to talk about playing Survivor than it is to actually play it.
I don't believe that for a second.
All right, let's do some plugs. First of all, you can find our website at purplerockpodcast.com. We've got all sorts of stuff up there. live blogs for every episode. We got our fantasy scoreboards. We do at least one post a week about a topic usually related to the episode. Andy's actually handling that job this week. We do predictions posts every week, and we keep track of who's winning, us or the fans. Oh, and also, if you happen to be in the mood to shop at Amazon, you can do purplerockpodcast.com/Amazon to help support us financially just a little bit. Andy, where else can they find us?
You can find us on Twitter. John is usually the respondent at Purple Rock Pod. I am always the respondent at Purple Rock Andy.
Let's plug our fellow Purple Rockers, too. It's at Purple Rock Emma, at Purple Rock Mark, and at Purple Rock Matt, although good luck tweeting to Matt because that guy is never on Twitter.
But amazing branding by us, and how it's worked out is we can never have a contributor to the site whose name is more than 4 characters.
So if you're a 5-letter name, you need not apply.
That's right. Sorry, April? That's just something. I don't even know in April. Yeah,
damn math.
We're on Tumblr, at Purple Rock Podcast, and you can email us, purplerockpodcast@gmail.com.
Anything else?
I'm kind of hoping we're wrong about this fishback stuff. You know what?
Likewise.
If we're wrong and Savage goes home, bring us all of your taunts, and frankly, I will enjoy them and deserve them.
Yeah, we've made it very clear. Like, we are Steven fans. We'd like him to stay in the game, but we're unfortunately reading the writing on the wall here, and it doesn't look good for him.
Anything else?
Nope, let's hit some theme music.
That's what it's like when a woman wants a baby.